and the 7-Star Dance Studio to foster collaborations and bring innovative arts, culture, and community events and celebrations. The Village could also encourage a cross-cultural festival, which would bring together the different demographics in Brewster, working towards a common goal, celebrating the diverse cultural makeup of the community. Moving ahead to the future, our key recommendation for the Village of Brewster would be to hire a community engagement coordinator. The revitalization of Brewster, the Village of Brewster, would be best realized if a dedicated staff person was hired to facilitate the long-term vision in terms of retail, arts, culture, and planning that are presented here today. Investment in this position would go a long way towards strengthening relationships and bringing fresh energy and vision to the Village, beginning with Main Street. There are 2 roads that are directly adjacent to Main Street in Brewster, Prospect Street and Progress Street. We believe that these street names are symbolic for the Village. Despite its current issues, Brewster has great prospect and promise, and ultimately, by using its resources wisely, will make tremendous progress. The Village needs to create a vision for its future and dedicate time and staff capacity to seeing that vision through.
We need him back, or yes, if you could just lift it. Thank you. If I can invite the rest of the Brewster team up here for your certificates, and Larry, our chairman.
Congratulations, Brewster. Another great example of formulating a prescription for success in a challenged community and creating benefit. So thank you very much. Very good job. And again, thank you and congratulations for participating in the Pattern Fellows program. Jennifer Killian. Thank you. Patrick Mason. Patrick, thank you. Linda Marston Reed. Thank you very much. Andrea Reynosa. Thank you. David Rocco. Thanks, David. Jeff Sims. Thanks, Jeff. Adrian Spadaccini. Thanks. And that concludes it.
Great job, guys. Great job. Great job. Okay, if we can bring the screen down one more time, I'll use this as an opportunity for a commercial. The Pattern Fellows program is something that just completed its 6th year. As you can see, what we do here is we attempt to inculcate a group of mid-career people in thinking with one more line to their decision matrix, that somehow solutions may not always exist within their own community. So there are guest speakers. There are reading. We had reference to leadership in the first question to the 2 congressmen. We have these projects. Now, the projects may not necessarily always be cross-boundary lines, but the participants are. And the idea of it is to get people from different walks of life to say, maybe we can band together to create a different viewpoint as to how to solve an issue that's perplexing a community or a business or something else in the region. And the first 2 were examples of that. So we have one more presentation. Who's doing the presentation for okay, come on up. The last group will be presenting on the Newburgh Metric Project, which was part of actually a 3-fold approach. It was sponsored by Mount St. Mary's, but there was also 2 other projects going on simultaneously. One was with the NYU Graduate School, the Wagner School for Masters in Public Administration, that was looking at a new way to look at how to use performance measures for small cities. And they did their presentation to the mayor and to various leadership in the city of Newburgh. And then Pattern is also engaged in doing a visual inventory of certain parts of the city in order to try to create a baseline measurement for the city in an effort to try to move it forward. All of this is designed to try to provide information that is useful for people that are doing grant applications, so you avoid duplication, so that you can work together in a way to try to look at the city of Newburgh in an effort to revitalize it. But I'll better let the people that worked on it explain it themselves. So we'll turn the microphone over to you guys.
Good morning. So my name is Johanna Poor, and I'm going to speak a little bit about this program. As Jonathan mentioned, it's different than some of the other programs that we've already discussed, and the reason for that is because Newburgh really is a city of extremes, and I mean that in the best way, and then also in the way that unfortunately we have to consider, which is that we have very high crime and poverty and government dysfunction, and a lot of people, they have this false narrative that they say, oh, Newburgh used to be great and now it's not, or something. It's a very simplistic narrative that isn't true. Newburgh's been in and out of all of these various cycles for a long time, and we need to constantly benchmark and look at the metrics of it in order to understand the problems and try to repair as we go forward. So our program's all visual, as you can see. We've got trying to show off all of the assets here. We've got this incredible historic district and architecture and infrastructure and all of these things. But then we also have a lot of problems that we have to deal with having to do with safety. And in this particular case, a big national case that happened with a murder and protest and all of those things. And that sort of gives that, the two sides of what Newburgh is. So you can go forward. So the first, we looked at various aspects because we were partnering with all of these other groups that had their they were invested in this program. So the NYU fellows were looking at a much larger picture. They were thinking about how to use measurement as a way for better government. And when it came down through all of these people and these stakeholders that got involved down to us, we were tasked with figuring out what are those specific categories that should be looked at in order to have a baseline of measurement for the future. So demographics was one. Newburgh has had a pretty even population for 50 or 60 years or more, but it's changed dramatically in the types of people, the economic status of the people that are in the city, the jobs that are available to those people, and then of course ethnicity as well. So Newburgh is an extremely diverse city. Anything across the board. We have, like I said, a city of extremes, so we have all of that here. And then, of course, the historical perspective along the top. So you can go through. Economic development, of course, that's at the core of a lot of the problems that we have. We used to have a system that was based on, shipbuilding and huge factories and industry. So we are grappling over the past 55 years with how to reinvent the city beyond the industrial city. And it's being done already. It's being done through tourism, through sporting type things on the river, things dealing with boating. It's being done through business. So that's a picture of the Newburgh Brewery. It's one example of small businesses that are really changing the city. And it's also being done through the film industry. The city of Newburgh actually opened a film office so that people can use the assets that we have for filming. Go forward. Education's another one. We have a big enlarged combined school district, so the Newburgh Enlarged School District. But I also put a couple of other things up here because a lot of adult programmings. We have OC, the Orange County Community College. We also have Mount St. Mary's College. So we have a lot of assets when it comes to education, Catholic schools and charter schools. And then, of course, all of the resources within the city. So you've got that outside education as well that has to do with place-based learning. And this one here, this is one of my favorite pictures along the top. Everybody says, Newburgh, all-American city, their best government, year 1952. Of course, we're not there today. We've had 40, I don't remember the exact number, but about 40 city managers over the course of about 100 years since the city manager form of government was established in Newburgh. So almost as many presidents of the United States as city managers of the city of Newburgh. And it's that inconsistency that's been the problem, and really, I think one of the focus of this type of the objective that we have is to create some consistency. So if we have to face the reality that our government's going to turn over, then maybe we can create some outside way, a regional way of looking at it, so that the people who come and go can stay focused on goals. Housing, this is our part of our legacy. Above the top, you see urban renewal. Poughkeepsie, of course, very similar situation, but between 1971 and 73, we lost 1,300 buildings in the historic district of Newburgh, so 1/3 of our historic district was removed. It forced people who had housing in those districts to have to move up into the other parts of the city. So for smaller families who went from small manageable homes to then go into the mansions and have to break them apart into apartments in order to collectively afford the housing, it destroyed not only that downtown, but then it destroyed a lot of what was above it too, because it altered the way that people were using those spaces. So everything, our housing was okay for 30 or 40 or 50 years of neglect, but now we're getting on the point where a lot of the housing has been neglected for 60 years. So you see a lot of this sort of stuff around, some people trying to go in and do the work. Beautiful mansions that need a lot of money and time, and they're not being cared for properly. So that's one of our challenges. And here we have tourism, which this is the class that had to deal with me. No, this is my big thing that I'm always pushing, which is that Newburgh has the first historic site in the nation, Washington's headquarters. It opened to the public in 1850. It's where Washington refused the crown. I mean, incredible history. Crawford House Museum, where I work, which is dedicated to maritime history in the Hudson Valley. Parks like Downing Park, designed by Calvert Vaux and Frederick Law Olmsted. I mean, they designed Central Park, and then they came to Newburgh and designed ours. We even have Motorcyclepedia, which is the largest collection of Indian motorcycles in the world. So we have these incredible museums, and I gave a handout, so you have information on those as well. So I really believe that this is one of the keys to being able to bring back the city, and one of the reasons why it's important enough to focus on and to think about all of the other problems and try to make that difference. So that's above. I should mention above, it's the 1909 Hudson Fulton celebration. That's the picture there. Move forward. Transportation. This is one of the most important, because Newburgh was always, the reason Washington came to Newburgh is because it was at the center of the ferry that took the troops back and forth, and near West Point, and easy to get to Philadelphia, and easy to get to Boston. So transportation has always been at the heart of why people want to be in Newburgh. And I've heard people even in business today say that it's the airport, it's the bridge, it's the train, it's all these things that keep them coming back and doing business in the city. So that's one of the things we have to consider, that as we are making improvements to the infrastructure, as the congressman spoke about, that we're being mindful of not trying to skirt people around the city, but to actually engage them within the city itself, so that we can, that it's relevant. So this is just a little sample of that, the bridge in Stewart Airport, and this is our main street down Broadway. It never was our main street. Water Street was our main street until urban renewal destroyed that district. So now Broadway is considered the main street, but it wasn't historically. And then the train above, that's actually Teddy Roosevelt visiting Newburgh in 1898. Okay, and then for the final thing I want to mention is, this is a really interesting article. I happened to be in the archives looking for something totally unrelated, and I came across this. And it's NYU students visit Newburgh for urban planning study, and this is dated 1967. So the actual group project that we are doing right now, trying to look at measurement, it's all in here. It's the same exact plan, and it talks about how they went to the person who went to Mary College, and they went to the mayor, and they went to all these different various individuals that they went to in order to try to understand Newburgh, first of all, create a measurement system and then how to follow through and make this information usable. Unfortunately, none of us could find what the result was. We don't know what they produced from it, but we know they did this study already in 1967. And a little personal note: they also, in here it says that they went to the president of the Optimist Club, which was an organization in Newburgh at the time, and that was actually my grandfather. So my grandfather did this program in 1967. And our team listed out here. And one of the beautiful scenes of one of our festivals. And it ties in, Newburgh has always been known as a festival city, so Hudson Fulton is our biggest one, but we had lots of other ones, like the All-American City Festival in 1952. And we're doing one this weekend, so that's part of what I handed out. The Newburgh Illuminated Festival is a big 3-day festival, and the streets will look like this weekend. So if you want to come to Newburgh, it's a great weekend to come and see all of the good things that are happening there.
And if I could get the Newburgh group to come up here, and Larry, one last time to present this. If any of this intrigues you, there should be forms on your table for participation in next year's program. So if you know of somebody and want to take the form and pass it on to them, or if you're sitting there and you'd like to consider it yourself, please take a moment and just fill out your contact information, and we'd love to have you under consideration for the next program. But you can see we have a lot of fun with this. And with that, Larry?
Well done. You know, it always strikes me that we kind of, I don't know why, but we kind of take Newburgh for granted sometimes, in the sense that when you really think in terms of George Washington, Thomas Edison, Frederick Law Olmsted, I mean, these are historic icons in our history, all with a very, very substantial presence in Newburgh. So an effort like this that continues to focus on ways to make Newburgh reinvent itself, work, take advantage of its history, those are the great things. And I think the Illumination Festival is going to be a great event this weekend. So congratulations to you all, and thank you for participating in the Fellows Program as well. And with that, I will give you your diplomas. James Burpee. Jim, thank you. John Carolla. Thanks, John. Ulysses Marmol. Thank you. Thank you very much. Johanna Poor. Thank you. Christopher Ryu. Thank you, Chris. Peter Sayfarth. Thank you. Ron Van Warmer. Thanks, Ron. Thank you very much. Owen Rafter. That's an interesting spelling of that name, yes. Thank you very much. So a round of applause for these guys. Okay, so I want to take this opportunity to close out the event today and thank you all very much for coming and hanging out and hearing our fellows' presentations, which were all excellent. And to remind you, as Jonathan said, that let's continue to produce candidates that will support the sustainability of this program. And if also, my personal plug is, if there's any folks here that are not yet members of Pattern for Progress, please contact us. Call Jonathan, myself, Robin at the office. And we need you. We'd love to have you. And please join us. So thanks very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.